Well, hi everyone. I'm Victor Lund with the Wave Group. I have with me my co-founder, Marilyn Wilson, and I'm introducing one person that many of you probably know, Joe Kazoon. Joe's been a great entrepreneur in our industry and has served significant executive roles at many companies around the real estate technology space for many years. And a friend who's not new to me, but might be new to a lot of MLS executives and a lot of brokers who work with Wave Group is Ben Kinney. So welcome, guys. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. Thanks for having
Excellent.
us.
Thanks for the invite.
Well, you guys, you certainly made the headlines this week about an acquisition that Place made of the company that Joe Kazoon is the CEO of, a business called Remine. Remine's been around for quite a while. I think most MLS executives know the company. It serves a lot of real estate agents in a variety of markets. But certainly that category of technology is fairly new. So, but let's just new for Ben. But let's just go back. Like, Ben, who are you? Like, where? I could tell your story, but it's always better coming from you. Like, we met a couple decades ago. Just tell us a little bit about your life in real estate and like when you got into technology and when you really started owning technology companies.
Sure. Thanks for having us and giving us an opportunity to share and talk. I'm from Washington State. You can tell from my tan, and I'm born and raised Washingtonian. But I've been in the industry for over 20 years as a real estate agent and then as a brokerage owner. And then about 12 years ago, I started investing and building technology. My formal collegiate studies was in computer science and business. So I started out as a nerd and I continue to live my life in that area. But we've built a variety of tech companies, Brivity, um, Blue Roof 360, the list goes on. And a handful of years ago, I came together with my co-founder, who's one of the greatest humans in the world, Chris Suarez, and him and I formed a company called Place. And Place set out to provide everything that the real estate agent needs to run their business all in one place. We love puns and we love the word place, and it works really well. So we've been really committed for years of building technology tools and systems for real estate professionals and brokerage owners and the people that just help all these consumers with the biggest and most important purchase of their life.
Yeah. Now, this isn't the first time you've bought a company. You want to kind of run down some of the companies you've acquired over your career? I mean, I think they're, when you bring them up, people go, "Oh yeah, I wonder." Like,
Yeah, I mean, there's 30 plus entities that have joined our world in some capacity, some of which haven't been announced yet. Everything from Active Rain, if many of you probably are been in the industry for a long time, you know Active Rain, quickly, Blue Roof 360, Redmond Tech, one of the first IDX providers for Canada as well. If we have any Canadian people watching today, uh, Brivity, Brandco, the list goes on. And we serve about 100,000 real estate agents, at least one product every single year currently across the United States and Canada.
yeah. So tell us a little bit about the infrastructure you have today, and then maybe Joe can talk a little bit about the infrastructure in place um, at Remine so that we can kind of understand how these groups are going to come together. I know people that are on the Remine platform today, they obviously know what the tech is. They want to make sure that they're going to get the support and service going forward. So talk a little bit about your support and service. And then maybe Joe can talk a little bit about what they offer. I know that you guys, I wouldn't expect you to have a plan to move those together out of the gate since you just announced the acquisition yesterday, but I'm sure you're going to get to work on that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I said earlier that I was kind of nerdy. I'm the guy at the dance that sits in the corner and waits for somebody to talk to him. I'm kind of shy, and I don't we don't toot our horn a whole lot. But Place has over 1,100 W-2 employees. We have over 50 designers, 100 software developers, 50 accountants. Like we're a massive organization, and most people don't understand the size and breadth and of our world because we don't stand on stage and we don't talk about it and we don't do press releases all the time, and you rarely see us on a video talking to people. But we have a lot of resources, and we're well capitalized. Goldman bought 8% of our company in 2021 for around $100 million. at a $1 billion valuation. We've spent very little of that capital. We still have over 50% of that capital on our balance sheet. We're a profitable company. We're cash flow positive. So we have a lot of stability and strength that we think that we can bring to the table for products that we believe in with teams that we believe in, like Remine. Man, we're excited to make significant investments into expanding from our current product set, which is agents and brokers, into providing tools to MLSs that they can provide to their members. And Remine's like the natural starting point for us, I think. And we're super excited about this opportunity. It came quick, and you'll hear today that there wasn't a lot of time or planning or integration talk, but we'll be as truthful and honest as we always are.
Thank you. What about you, Joe? Like, tell us about the structure of Remine today.
Yeah, today we have a little under 40 people at Remine. And so obviously a little bit smaller than Place. And we are really excited. And we can get into this later, but you know, we've been through a process with multiple companies. We had, you know, quite a few different suitors over the last few months. We talk about the fact that this is new. Remember, it was an auction. So it's not like we were in a process for 2 months. We found out on Wednesday who the new owners were going to be. And again, super excited. Place has so many resources and so many ways that will help Remine. It's great.
So Ben, why Remine? Why now? Was it like the deal opportunity, or is it something that you had always seen as an opportunity for Place?
Well, you know, I spent a lot of time with one of the co-founders of Remine over the years, Leo, and I'd seen his product. And Remine's in a lot of the MLSs that Place has agents and teams and brokerages in already. So we already have a lot of customers that are fans of the product, and it's kind of a natural addition. Plus, Remine has a handful of tools that we haven't built yet that we're excited to add into our overall tech platform. But I think it's the right move for us to go out there and provide a technology platform to a wider audience of real estate professionals. And Joe, do you know what the head count of total agents that have access to the platform today is?
Yeah, I think about 600,000.
Okay. So that brings, you know, Place that's servicing 100,000 real estate agents to now another 600,000. It really gives us an opportunity to make an impact. When you talk to my co-founder sometime, Chris Suarez, he says one of the unique things about Place is that Ben and I love the real estate agent. You know, I'm a card carrying realtor, and I still do transactions myself, and I still consider myself a real estate agent. And I just think it's nice to have technology built by real estate agents who actually eat the dog food that they sell and use it and can do a demo as good as anybody out there, as good as any customer. I think that's unique. So we're excited about it.
Yeah,
And
I mean, go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say I'm excited about it too, because now we'll have Place agents using Remine and getting that very direct feedback. And with Ben's knowledge, Chris's knowledge, the whole team, I think we're going to be able to improve Remine in a lot of ways and get some new perspectives. And of course, all the integrations we'll be able to do across the platforms.
Yeah, one of the things that I've always been inspired by with Ben's work is that he has always delivered Place through the lens of not just providing software, like, oh, you bought it, your login works, good luck to you. They've always componentized the training around it, but more, it's not just training on how to use the software, it's training on how to be a real estate agent. Can you talk a little bit about those systems that back up what you provide at Place to your network today?
Sure. I don't want to kind of make an early statement, because if you went to place.com, you'd be more confused after you went there than you were prior, which is saying something. First off, Place is not a brokerage, and Place has no intention to ever be a brokerage. We power the top teams and agents at every major brokerage in America, from EXP to Keller Williams to Real to LPT to Compass to Side to Coldwell Banker to Century 21 to Remax, like all these phenomenal brands. And our industry and our news and media have been filled with companies that say they're going to disrupt, or they're going to eliminate, or they're going to replace things. And I never wanted to harm the broker. and I never wanted to harm the agent. All I wanted to do was help connect consumers to homes through that local trusted real estate professional in a way that lifted up the agent, that keeps the agent relevant in every single transaction. And I don't think as a tech company, you have to harm people to build something awesome. I think you can just build something awesome that empowers the people that are already working and doing a good job, which is what we kind of hope to do. So I wanted to put that disclosure out there, but
Oh, I
because
like it.
it's confusing to understand really what place is.
Yeah, I often describe it as like if Inside Real Estate owned Trulia, that's what place.com is. Like it's a software company that said, well, we focus a lot on developing tools for real estate agents to help them build their business. And what better way to do that? I mean, you can certainly have your own website as an agent team or broker, but what about if we have a national website that we all contribute to and feed off of? And it seems like Place is very uniquely positioned in that perspective. Like, I don't think there's any other lookalike company, although some could say that Zillow is sort of marching backwards in that direction. So, you know, when you look at the combination of what Place has today and how it has been augmented by all the functionality of Remine, it's sort of a reverse pivot to what Zillow has done. So Zillow built the portal first, then they went and bought transaction management. They bought, a data company. They bought a showings company, yada, yada, yada. They've continued to buy companies to kind of backfill their stack with more productivity tools that help the agent sell more real estate, not just give them leads. So you and Zillow, I think, are aligned insofar as you kind of understand those two things. But to me, your special power is the training. Like you guys are like coaches and trainers on how to sell real estate. Not just people who say this is how you press the buttons in the software. Is that a fair depiction?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that sell leads to real estate agents. I think there's a lot of people that sell software to real estate agents. In 2020, during COVID, I saw this man on screen, handsome guy with abs, and he was riding this bike, and I'm like, oh man, if I bought that bike, I would be healthy and I would look like him. So I ordered the Peloton. It got delivered to my house the next 2 weeks later, and I got on the bike and I rode it, and afterwards I hurt in spots I never knew I could hurt in, and I realized as I got off that bike, I didn't just need a Peloton. I needed a workout buddy, and I needed to change my diet, and I needed to hydrate, and I needed to eat better, and I needed to go to the doctor, and I needed to take supplements, and I needed to stretch. And if I did all those things, I could be healthy. The real estate agent and the real estate broker doesn't just need a piece of software. They need all the other things. And if you can bundle those things together, you can basically guarantee success in real estate. What's happened out there though is we already know every homeowner in America. Every potential seller in America already been identified. In fact, Remine has all of that data already in their system. They know what their names are. They know what properties they own. They know what they paid for it. They know what their interest rate is on their loan. They know how much their mortgage amount is. They know their contact information. They know what their neighborhood's like. They know the propensity for that person to sell. But there's all these other aggregators that are going out there and selling us the people that we already know exist. What we need to do is that we need to provide tools to real estate agents in the form of scripts, postcards, uh, marketing platforms, messages that they could send, things that they could drop off the door, so that we can connect with the 100 and something million already homeowners in America and talk to them about when are they going to make that next move. And what are they going to do next in their life when it comes to a home? We already know who they are, but we've been sold those people for years, which I think is somewhat funny.
Yeah. And did you have those so I think that there are three components that are blended together into Remine that make it a unique piece of software. One is the public record data, the listing data, the or non-MLS data, combined with MLS data, and then combined with that customer record data. And we haven't really seen much of a fusion of those three components in software before. I know that, with the existing the MLS stack, even in most cases, the public record data is a separate application than the MLS. And then very light stuff around customer record information. So did you guys have that? Were you sort of running the parcel record data and the customer record data through the veins of the Place application before this acquisition?
You know, through our different products like Brivity and Blueberry 360 and all of our different tech tools, we have all the same data. We're already a member of the vast majority of MLSs as a vendor. Uh, we buy the assessor data and all the mortgage data and all that kind of stuff, but we haven't done as good of a job as Remine to bring it all together in an easily accessible platform. And I think as a MLS and as a brokerage owners, like our fiduciary duty is to give our agents the tools to be educated to help our customers in the best possible way. And if you can do that without forcing them to pay for 7 things and log into 10 different places, and you give them all that data in one place, and then you teach them how to use it and what to say and how to be compliant and how to work with integrity and so on, so on, so on, you can really empower agents to be the next level, to live up to their potential.
Yeah, and we've seen that. I mean, the agent, when we look at agents who are part of the place organization or working with your company, we see them lift up and elevate their business beyond most traditional agents. Marilyn, why don't you bring some of the MLS perspective in? I know when you and I talked about this acquisition over the last couple of days, you had some really good foundational questions.
Yeah, and there's going to be some basic questions, and these are probably more for you, Joe, because you already know these folks. But simple things like who's going to run it, who's going to stay, who's going to go, who do they call if they need to change? Let's just start at the basics. Like, how is it going to operate from here moving forward?
I think the thing I'd want to tell everybody first and foremost is for now it's business as usual. I'm
Okay.
continuing as the CEO of Remine. My role could evolve over time with Place. Certainly, again, very excited about everything the Place has, the people, the technology, and all of that. We're retaining the people we have. There's no changes there. I think things will only get better when we start leveraging other support systems, marketing systems, product people. There's so much that Place has to offer Remine. So, on the original side, no change. I'd say no change other than improvement. And we just talked about a couple of things that I want to emphasize. And I want to answer your question, Marilyn, but I want to revisit a couple of things that Victor was talking about and Ben was talking about. You talked about the knowledge Place has in terms of how to use software. We can talk about the technology, we can talk about all the data, and all of that's important. We can talk about the integrations that we'll do between Remine and Place, but we already have hundreds of thousands of people using Remine. And if I'm an MLS executive, if I'm an MLS member, I should be really excited about the knowledge that Place is going to bring. So if I'm somebody using Remine, if I'm somebody using Remine Pro, and I meant Remine the product as well as Remine Pro to do prospecting, with Place's knowledge, we're going to be able to teach you how to prospect better and how to use it in relation to your CRM and other things you're doing. I think that's really important. And Victor, you mentioned some of the data we have, the MLS data for Remine Pro, the public record data. Ben also mentioned some other things and the consumer data, mortgage data, and other things that we use. And remember, Remine was one of the first companies to leverage what we call AI, machine learning. We've been doing that for a long time. We have the sell score, buy score, algorithms created by data scientists, PhD scientists, not just developers, but scientists that are experts in that. That are really, really powerful. And there's a lot in there. And that's what Ben was talking about in terms of being able to find those people that have a high propensity to list, high propensity to buy. And that is part of our secret sauce and a differentiator for Remine.
Well,
So
I
let's
love Ben.
skip past that.
Yeah, I love Ben what you were saying because one of the questions, MLSs are kind of paranoid in a good way, right? They're always like, who is here? Who's behind this company? Are they here to protect the best interests of our industry, of each of our practitioners? Are they just trying to make a buck? Are they really trying to help people, truly help people with their technology? These are questions that they ask as they should, as protectors of their local market, in some cases, pretty large markets. So I'm excited to hear what you said, Ben, about at the end of the day, you believe the realtor and the agent is the center of all of this, and that whatever you build is there to make it better. And both brokers, agents, and MLSs suffer from having terrific technology that not enough people take advantage of. And not only do they not take advantage of it, they don't fully leverage it, to your point, Ben, right? So do you see an opportunity for some of the sort of, shall we call it, training or engagement effectiveness that you've been able to deploy through Place? Do you see some of that coming over and helping MLSs truly learn how to teach their agents how to really take full advantage of this stuff?
I do. I think MLSs have provided a plethora of tools over the years, much of which is really valuable and great technology or great systems, but a fraction of their people use it. And at some point, they look up and like, well, only 5 or 10% of our people are using it. Why should we continue to pay for it? And at the end of the day, what we want is to get more people to adopt it. So when I talk to my marketing department about how do we get better adoption of our new features that we roll out, I walk them through a 3-step kind of approach to it, which hopefully MLSs can say, oh, that makes sense, or we may want to use. Number one, we have to show them how to use it. So where exactly do you click and what do you do to do X, Y, or Z?
Right.
Number two, you got to tell them why. If you did this and if you did this consistently, you would generate X amount of listing appointments or X amount of buyer consults, or you'd find X amount of properties for your people to write offers on, or you would be able to do blah, blah, blah. You got to tell them the why. And then the third and probably one of the most important pieces is we got to find local people in their market that agents respect to provide social proof.
Right.
This is how you use it. This is why you use it. And this is a lady in the market that's using it very successfully. And these are the results that they're getting. And if you can deliver all 3 of those things consistently and constantly, you'll look up and the amount of people using your technology and services will consistently rise.
I love that. So looking at well, I'm going to ask a tough question for you, for both of you, I guess, but Joe specifically. There's MLSs, again, anytime there's uncertainty, and boy, do we have enough uncertainty in our market right now. Everywhere you turn, we have uncertainty, right? But when they see a change of ownership and a change of ownership away from MLSs that they know and trust, they get jittery. Should we just walk? Should we switch to something else? And immediately their board start asking them those questions. So what's your message to those that are in that place that are saying, no pun intended, I guess maybe pun intended.
That was very funny.
Yeah. Of saying maybe we need to drop this because this is not the people that we bought from originally, and we're not sure exactly what we're getting ourselves into.
I would say, one, of course, talk to us, give us a chance. I think people should be really excited about this acquisition and the things we'll be able to deliver. I'll step back a little and be honest with you. When I first got to Remine, a few people said, "Oh, you just took the job at Remine." I didn't know Remine was still around, and I thought, "Uh-oh." And so, yeah, some big name customers had left. That has certainly gone on. I will tell you, we've turned that around. We've started signing new customers again, and we'll have some announcements. We've been getting ready to deploy and a couple of decent size MLSs. So there is positive momentum there. Certainly, there are always MLSs thinking about their services. We know there's a lot of pressure on budget and all that. But I think for Remine, what we'll offer, what we are offering and what we will offer is people are going to be really excited. So
I think
awesome.
the day before we went to auction for Remine, I started reaching out to some of Remine's customers and even some of the owners of Remine. And I talked to Jeremy Crawford at FMLS, and I said, "Hey, we're intending to show up at the auction tomorrow, but I wouldn't want to do that if you wouldn't see that as the right thing for this company and for this product, and I wouldn't want to do this if you wouldn't be in support of this decision." And Jeremy was so kind and said, "We're absolutely in support of that." And Joe, when you reached out to the Austin MLS, did they give you a similar message?
Oh, absolutely. All of our, remember the folks that were our former owners have no reason to stay anymore other than as customers, right? They're not owners.
Right.
They all plan to stay. Most of our large customers I've talked to, well, I haven't talked to everyone, but the ones I've talked to are planning to stick around, unless they're not telling me. And again, we're adding new people. And you said something before, Marilyn. Oh, I became a customer, an MLS, and they say when it was under different ownership. I have no doubt in my mind that it is under better ownership now, and that's not to take anything away from the past owners. But we talked to a lot of people. We were engaged before the ABC in a sale process. We talked to public companies. We talked to very small private companies, private equity companies, everybody in between. And there is no doubt in my mind now that we are here, place is the best home for Remine. I really, really believe that. We probably don't have time in this interview for me to tell you all the reasons why, but there are a lot of reasons.
Well, one to point out is I've never sold a company in my life. So when we invest in something, we keep stuff. We aren't trying to roll up a bunch of stuff and flip the company. Chris and my co-founder, we still control 90% of the company as owners of it. So we aren't dictated by investors. Place has no debt, zero. So we aren't dictated by
Really good to hear.
debt, right? So that we don't have all the normal things that cause companies to struggle or to shut down or to sell or for multiple owners to happen. And you have a bunch of people that are committed to building amazing technology for real estate agents because we are real estate agents.
It sounds like from my takeaway from what all you guys are saying is you're smart and you're patient. You're
Well,
you're not trying to take something and spin it, like you say, give me 18 months, let me drive it up. But you're not acting like a KKR or someone that just wants to strip it of its value and then flip it to somebody else. That's not your game and never has been. I think that's really good news for MLSs personally, someone who works with a lot of them. I did have a question more tactically about the product. And again, you may not be able to answer this yet, but Remine has a lot of components. Victor describes sort of three general areas, but there's SSO dashboards and there's transaction management. There's there's a lot of different things. And some people have bought you sort of, or have, partnered with you for one of those things. Some have partnered with others. Do you have any sense yet of prioritization? Are you going to maintain all of those? Are you going to add more, drop some of them? Do you have any idea about where that goes yet?
yeah, for a couple comments. One, there was a handful of companies that were bidding for Remine that wanted to buy pieces of it and tear it apart for it to be kind of for scraps.
Okay.
And even companies that offered us, if we bought it, they would buy those pieces from it to help cover the capital invested. We have no intentions of dividing the products up in any way. We have no intentions of discontinuing any of the feature set at all. So we're going to double down on all of them. But when you buy a company, the very first thing you should do is triage. It's like stop the bleeding. What does that mean? Let's fix all the bugs. Let's fix the speed. Let's make hires in the areas that the company needs. Let's make investments just to stabilize the company. The
Okay.
second stage after you do triage is to get that company into a really stable and steady and a good state. But you do that by listening to the customers. And this transactions happen so quickly, I haven't had the opportunity to listen to our customers. So I imagine for the better part of this year, I'm going to be on the phone with MLSs and with the actual agents using the products and using you guys to help us understand what is needed and what should we build and what should we double down on. Then once we have a plan and we know what people want, then we'll start making those strategic investments. But when people rush in too quickly to start building or changing things, all you create is chaos. So triage, stabilize, listen, and then come up with the roadmap to make improvements.
Right.
And I would add, in addition to improving the technology, is what we talked about before: user engagement, how they use the product, getting exposed to the product, so they can get value from it.
Yeah, do you envision any kind of again, I know you've had it for 15 minutes, so you might not know the answers to this yet, but do you envision any kind of user groups or anything like that where you're going to get ongoing input from the MLS leadership themselves as well as the people that are using it?
Yeah, I would expect all of that. You will find us to be one of the most transparent and accessible companies that you've ever worked with. You'll have my cell phone number. You can text me 7 days a week. You can reach out. You can send me messages. You can send me memes. You can send me jokes. You can like anytime, anywhere. Trust me, Victor and I have spoken all hours and all days of the week. No matter what one of us were in. That's just how we operate. So we thrive on feedback.
Love it. Okay, good. Well, that all sounds great to me as someone that if someone's going to call me and say, what's going on with Remine? I get those calls all the time. I would say they're in a good place. They've landed in a great little nest and they're going to keep moving forward. It's a good thing. That's
So
awesome.
Marilyn, I want to call you out a little bit. So, and this is, I guess, so we know some things about Remine that Joe and Ben don't know. Do you want to kind of give a little bit of background on, the work that you do with MLSs to understand customer satisfaction and product importance within their product mix, and kind of where Remine sits on the scale of a variety of different competitive sets, because it crosses over a bunch of them. I don't think you can say that it's a lookalike of this company or that company or this product or that company product. How would you what does the data say about Remine today?
So for those that don't know, and you guys probably don't know, we have a thing called the Wave Group Customer Experience Index, and it's a standardized templatized survey we do across MLSs to allow them to benchmark themselves against each other and not anonymously, right? We don't try to get competitors fighting with one another. And so we track all kinds of things with all products. So we track awareness, adoption, usage, satisfaction. And I was just breezing through a few of them this morning. Satisfaction is very high. And I think that, again, I think like most products, like you were talking about, Ben, their usage could be higher. That's pretty much true of everything except probably public record software at the MLS system itself and maybe showing appointment software. Everything else has opportunities for growth. So for those that have figured out what a powerful tool it is in whatever context that they use it, they really like it. It gets really strong scores. But again, I think there's room for more appreciation and adoption of it among, because it does so many different things and it does many of them very, very well. I mean, when Remine entered the market, for those that remember, it was the hottest ticket going. Everybody had to jump on. Everybody loved it. Everybody thought it was the latest and greatest and newest. And it was. They weren't making that up. It really was. So I think that what I'm excited to hear is that, again, you have a core product that's working, because we're asking, we talked to 500,000 agents across the country. So we're not, this isn't 6 people. This is real data, right? You have a good product, a solid product. People like it. Now it's a matter of how do we maybe integrate it and embed it even more into their daily thought process. And what I think is super exciting is, and particularly for place customers, is you have a great process, a great workflow that you've built for them. You teach them how to use that workflow really effectively. It's a natural addition to bring Remine into that workflow. And so to think about how that entire suite of tools can really help people be successful, not just your current place customers, but potentially new ones, I think is exciting. And to that point, I had a question for you. And again, you probably don't know because you've had this for 27 seconds, but do you envision any opportunities for, Remine has been clearly MLS, Place has been clearly agent broker. Do you see any opportunities where Remine pulls Place in to the MLS side of the house and provides some of that training and technology and support to those audiences?
Yeah, for sure. I think we are a training first company. And if we can provide humans that are actually selling real estate professionals to come in locally for these MLSs and to talk to them about the tools, whether it's ours or other tools that are out there on
Yeah.
how to use that and how to grow their business, that would be awesome. One thing to think about, Place is an umbrella company. So Place owns,
A lot
20,
of things.
30
Yeah.
different brands and companies, many of which most people don't realize. And we don't shut down any of these brands when we buy these companies. All these companies stay on. In fact, almost all the founders of any company that I've ever purchased still work with me today. And they're
That's
excited
awesome.
about being a part of our ecosystem. The vast majority of employees still work with us today. I have employees that have been with me for 19 years and 20 years and 17 and 16 and 15 and 14 and so on. So we're excited to do that. And I'm excited to get to know the MLSs. I knew it was a winner yesterday when I started scrolling Facebook groups. And when I was in Facebook groups just looking for Remine posts, I ran through a whole bunch yesterday that said, oh, my MLS used to offer Remine. Does this mean that we're going to get it back? And that told me that agents out there like those tools and they wanted to use
Yes.
it. Now, what I have to do is find an economic way to work with MLSs to provide the tools that their agents need as fast as possible. And I will do that.
Well, and MLSs have a unique challenge / opportunity right now. They lost half of their value proposition when compensation went away, right? That's a lot of your value proposition. So now what? And so the kinds of things that you guys do, that Remine has always done, but that maybe, again, you bring that overlay of sort of practical reality about how this stuff actually helps you. I think that helps MLSs underline the value proposition that they've got a bit of a, a bit of a hole on right now. They got to figure out what else they're going to do that's going to make MLSs an absolute gotta have. So I'm excited to see it. I think there's some real opportunities for you guys to do some cool stuff.
I'll
Okay,
make
Victor,
I'll make
oh,
a
go ahead.
statement. I'll make a
Go ahead.
statement.
Mhm.
The real estate market's gone from an average of 5.5 to 6.5 million transactions consistently for 20 something years, even though the population has only grown over the last 20 years to hitting a 2 years of around 3.9 to 4.1 million transactions. And that has been so hard on every prop tech company and every real estate brokerage and every mortgage company and every MLS and every association. And we feel that. And as much as people say it's affordability and it's interest rates, at some point people still have to move. They have babies, they get divorced, they get married, they get a job, they want to move close to their grandkids, they want to get out of the city, they want to move into the city, whatever might happen. What we need to do is we need to give our agents the tools to reach out to the 100 million people that currently own a home and talk to them about what their real estate related plans are. Give those agents the data to know who they should reach out to based on who has a mortgage or which house is vacant or whatever it is. And we need to get inventory up. And as inventory goes up, every mortgage business does better, every real estate brokerage does better, every MLS does better, every association does better, and every agent does better. And we can't wait for the Fed to drop interest rates. We need to start helping people with the most important transaction of their life. And that can happen through tools like Remine and the data they have of connecting agents to all the homeowners in America, so long as we can teach them what to say, when to say it, and how often to say it.
That's incredible because associations are also struggling with what's their value, right? And many of them, there's a few that are actually building inventory themselves, like literally building properties, which is awesome. But most of them have not figured out how to address that problem, right? And so associations are trying to create a healthy, functional marketplace. And MLSs are trying to provide technology that helps you transact within that functional marketplace. What you just described helps both. Because if you can set the stage to help those 100 million people and whatever that number is in your particular market, on the association side, you're satisfying your need of creating demand and creating a healthy marketplace. And then the MLS is there to help you actually figure out how to transact that. That's a win-win for the owners of the MLSs as well as the MLSs themselves. So that's a terrific vision. I love
I'll
that.
I'll give you an example. We own a company called Inked, and Inked has 100 robots holding number two Bic pens, and they write handwritten letters to consumers, and they vary the letters so it's as kind of accurate to feel handwritten as possible. So we gave out a bunch of free credits to a real estate agent in Georgia the other day, and she sent out 48 handwritten cards with robot written cards to just random homes, and she generated 3 listing appointments.
Wow,
My
that's
question
incredible.
was, how long would those 3 of people would have sat on the sidelines and not decided to list their home if she wouldn't have taken the time to write them a note? There is a lot of people sitting on the sidelines wondering when they should start this
Yeah.
process of moving to the next stage of their life or the next home in their life. And we just, as an industry, need to get out there and tell people it's okay to start looking.
Hey, Ben, imagine if we sent those letters to people we knew that were in the top 5% of people who were who were thinking about selling their house using Remine intelligence.
Right. So you combine the data intelligence
Amazing.
with the propensity with where you
Yes.
target those 48, not just do them randomly. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a very intelligent but manageable and executable project because you brought technology along that entire sphere. So you've helped, Joe, you helped to figure out who you should talk to. Ben, you've got things to show them what to talk about and how to talk about it and how often to talk about it. Like the combination, it really could make the role of MLSs much, much, much more effective and much more profitable for brokerages who are struggling. You know how hard it is to make money as a brokerage. Every time you turn around, someone's taking another piece of your margin away. So I love what you guys are saying. I want to flip it because this is another very hot topic with MLSs right now, and then we'll jump back to Victor. I'm sure both of you are aware of the Ari Colorado sale and the mystery in which that was conducted and still is kind of being executed against. But with that, many organizations have started talking about in strategic planning, because we do those all the time, should we sell? Should we think about selling? When would we sell? Why would we sell? Who would we sell to? They're asking all those questions, right? And frankly, I don't think a lot of people have really figured out what that disposition strategy should look like yet. They're still getting there. But given that you've got that $50 million from sitting over there in the bank, Ben, do you envision buying any other technology companies in the MLS space, or even MLSs themselves?
Yeah. We have access to an enormous amount of capital in the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars through our partnership with Goldman and our other investors. We want to buy technology that empowers real estate agents, that gives them their time back so they can spend more time doing the things that help them make money, which is working with buyers, sellers, investors. We want to do the same thing for the mortgage industry and for title and escrow. We want to continue to make strategic investments. We're not a roll up that just buys junky software that they have 10 of the same exact thing. What was
Right.
nice about Remine is it had a whole feature set of products that we didn't already have. It wasn't like we were buying a second CRM when we already have a CRM, or a second
Right.
company, we already have an IDX company. So we're very interested in, and if you guys want to break and announce some more news, and in 2 weeks, we'll have a couple more exciting things to share.
I'll
Great.
hold you to that, Ben. So let's just, whenever a company gets acquired, I think all of its customers go into a little bit of a fear mode. So let's just talk about data. So obviously, Joe, you're the steward of MLS data licensing agreements, and Ben, you probably have a lot of parallel agreements, but not necessarily parallel agreements. Like, what are you guys going to be doing to protect the data that's in the MLS and not repurpose it or reuse it or do anything nefarious with it?
I think the first answer is simple, right? We have existing agreements with those customers that have protections for their data in it.
Okay.
As the steward of that data, I take that very seriously and always have. I've been in the industry for more than 2 decades now. I think I'm almost to 3. And so those agreements, as they're assigned, they'll have those same data protections. None of that changes.
Good.
And I think, I talk about why Place is a great home for Remine. There are not other concerns people have about Place like they may have with some other folks that may have purchased us, right? That do other things with data. That's not what we're doing. The only way we will use that data, whether it's MLS data, public record data, consumer data, is to help those MLS members get more business, do more business, conduct their business more easily. So if, let's say, in the future, I know you'll probably ask us about our future plans at some point, if there's data in Remine that is helping them in Remine, but could also help them in their CRM or somewhere else, that's how we would use the data. And I want to emphasize within the boundaries, within the confines of those MLS agreements that we have.
So you're gonna play fair. You're gonna do what you need to do.
We always have, and we will. And I know Ben is the same. So, and Chris and everybody there.
I think the cool thing is if there's a whole bunch of MLSs that don't know me and don't know me by name, that's a really good thing, because I've been a vendor of almost every MLS in the United States and Canada for multiple years. And if I had done something wrong, you would know my name. We already are accessing the data and using that to provide tools to real estate agents across the United States under our different companies and products, and we always abide by it. Place being a multi-billion-dollar company, we would never jeopardize the value of our company over the misuse of data or the mistreatment of a customer or a mistreatment of an industry, an MLS or an association or a brokerage. We are as brokerage agnostic and kind as you can find in a prop tech company.
Love that.
I'll attest to that.
Yeah, that's the right answer, Ben. Good job.
I would attest to that.
Yeah.
For
So Joe, you're going to our next set of questions. Where do you go from here? What's next, and what can your customers expect?
Yeah, again, 2 days in, 3 days in, haven't even
Right.
closed the deal, so I want to remind you of that. And again, I keep saying I'm excited because I am. I don't know that we don't have firm plans yet, and there's no radical change planned. Will all the products be better? Yes. Will they be integrated where it makes sense with the Place platform? Certainly that will happen. I think with the resources we have, we'll have now with Place, we'll have more integrations with other products. Myself, I believe in iterating, right? Everybody wants, oh, improve the software, make it better, do this, and then you change 2 buttons on the homepage and everybody loses their mind, right?
Exactly.
We know that, so you need to be careful and you need to make changes that make sense and have good product management discipline. But I kind of just passed all the things I said, and better, more integrations, better product. It's already a pretty stable platform. A lot of that work was done not only when I was here, but before. I'll give some of the past people credit. Um, uh, Ben, anything you want to add?
No, I talked to Jeremy and FMLS the other day. He said their organization had already ran 400,000 transactions through the transaction management e-signature platform, which I thought was awesome. I called some members in Georgia and asked them what they thought about it over the last couple of days, and they said it's pretty good, but there's a couple times the customer information doesn't save to the next page, or there's a few bugs. So, my first thing is just how do you make what we have good and solid so everybody can trust and respect it? And I think we're 90% there, but let's just spend a couple months addressing everybody's concerns so they look up and say this is super solid, and then let's start working on the future roadmap. As I said earlier, I want that to be dictated by our customers, both the MLSs and from their customers, the real estate agent.
Yeah, I mean, your scope is already really broad. It's not like you're missing a whole lot. You've got a lot of great stuff. So I love to hear that. It's like, let's just listen carefully. Because that's another question that I was going to ask you is when we work with the MLSs through our CXI, our customer experience survey, we will provide them open-end suggestions and questions and, complaints, all of the above. And sometimes people share those with their technology partners and they kind of fall on deaf ears. How do you envision that you might be different on that in that front?
Joe?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
So people there there are questions and suggestions that bubble up from actual users of technology that we gather on behalf of MLSs, share
Mhm.
that with them. They look at them and say, yes, I've heard that too. It needs to have, like you said, something populates on the next page or whatever the tactical details are.
Yep.
And sometimes we will help MLSs or they will do it themselves. We'll share those, candid feedback with the technology companies that are being mentioned, and they just fall on deaf ears. It's like, that's nice. And then nothing changes. They don't see any
Well,
improvements.
well, that's a shame, right? Sometimes, and I will admit to this with Remine, we haven't had the resources to move as quickly as we wanted.
Mhm.
It's a new day. That's going to change.
Mhm.
I love that you do those surveys. If you don't know something isn't working, you can't fix it.
Correct.
I'm a big believer in user focus groups and doing surveys, collecting data, not only yourself. People don't always want to tell you something bad about your product or something they wish it did better, even when you ask. Sometimes they're very verbal about it, as you all know.
Yeah.
But having third parties gather that information is also a great thing. You take that, you synthesize it, you try to understand what the priorities are, right? Is it one board member that's really upset about one thing, or is it 20% of the members? By the way, with Remine, we use a product that watches users and we can understand what they do, where they get stuck. So you use multiple sources of intelligence to improve that. And of course you have to have the resources to action making those improvements.
I'll,
Ben, do you envision putting some of it sounds like you've got a huge depth of resources already and deploying some of those quickly into the Remine platform to fix some of those issues?
Joe's already seen a plethora of people started jumping into phone calls and contributing already. But I want to go back to your last question. You said, how do you know that a company is going to listen? Here's a question back to the MLSs that are listening today. How many of the companies that you work with today do you have the decision maker, the owner's cell phone number? Mine is 425-76-8695. Nobody would give their cell phone number out if they weren't going to listen and take action on what their customers wanted. They hide behind a veil of forms and online idea submissions and email addresses, feedback at blah, blah, blah.com. They don't give their cell phone number.
I love
Every
that.
employee in my company has my cell phone, and every customer in my world has my cell phone. And I encourage you to reach out and give me your thoughts, ideas, or concerns, because I can't promise everything's going to be perfect, but I can promise I'll make it right if we make a mistake.
So you probably don't sleep a whole lot, do you, Ben?
If you
I
know
just-
Ben, you know that answer.
It's overrated.
And
That's just for those who don't know, we are filming this on Easter Saturday, so all of us are
Yeah.
pretty darn committed to this
Yeah.
industry.
yeah. And
Okay.
I knew Ben was going to do that. I was going to ask earlier, Marilyn, if you could, Victor, if you could just flash our phone numbers on there. And I'm sure
We'll put
most
it
of
in
most,
when we send this out, we'll put the
Yeah.
phone numbers
And-
on the website and for
Absolutely.
sure.
yeah, and I know most
But-
of the MLS execs out there already know mine, and I've been getting calls on Saturdays and Sundays for years because you want to be
Well,
there.
that's kind of what prompted this, what prompted this get together. Marilyn and I were inundated with our customers from across the spectrum about this acquisition and what our thoughts were. And I know Joe really well. I know Ben really well. I think everything's going to be fine, but maybe the best service we can provide to our customers and to our industry is to have a candid conversation with you guys. I really appreciate you coming on. I mean, Ben, you have not been a guy who's had companies that are offering technology solutions to MLSs before. It's certainly a different category, but in Joe and the team at Remine, you're getting decades of experience of very, very high quality people. And a pretty damn good piece of software. But just since you're not really in yet, Northwest MLS or let's not even pick an MLS, but your brokerage your relationships are with lots of MLSs on brokerages that you own, right? Why do you think that your agents at Place or your agents in your brokerage tend to use the Place platform and applications like Brevity and others that are ingesting the MLS information and public record information and then surrounding tools around? Why do you think agents are using all of your systems over at Place rather than the native systems in the MLS?
I would say first that a lot of our agents use tools provided by the MLS. They're using the e-signature and the document management platforms, and they're using it to research data, and they're using it to send one-off properties to people. Like, I wouldn't say they don't. And my goal is to get my agents to use the best of whatever is out there, even if it's not mine. But I think that you can get people to adopt stuff if you just follow that earlier message that I said, is this is how you use it. This is why you should use it. And these are some other people that have been using it, and this is the success that they've had. People want to be successful and they want to get results from their hard work. And sometimes they are so close, they're just this far away from that success, and they just got to pivot a few little things. So I think if you can come at everything not from a tech perspective, but from an industry perspective and an agent perspective, you can get people to say, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Not
Well,
that
I really
hard.
failed as an interviewer there because I was trying to solicit an answer and I didn't get it. So let me just ask the question that I was trying to solicit. But a lot of MLS systems have been challenging to say the least when it comes to really good systems integrations. And one of the things I've always admired at Place is that your systems really do integrate beautifully together. And not just like single sign-in dashboards where you're linking to different applications, but you're actually taking information and applications and using APIs to federate that information into other applications that are part of the super set of tools. And I don't know, maybe Joe, you could just start with this, but what integrations do you have at Remine today? And then maybe from Ben's perspective, do you think that Remine is going to be sort of a space where you can integrate a lot of other tools that aren't in the application today or that are just preferred by real estate agents, so it can really become their sort of super app?
Yeah, I mean, certainly our platform is fully integrated, right? Whether you're searching for public record data, you want
I
to.
don't know, but do you have like showing time integrations? Like be
Oh,
specific.
we certainly, we have showing time integrations. We've had CMA integrations.
Cloud CMA, are there other CMAs?
Yeah, no, that's the only one that we've
Okay,
had.
what others do you have?
Not enough, I will tell you
Okay.
that. And so that's one of the things I'm excited about with Place, right? An obvious one, we've talked about leads. Well, if you can get all these really high quality, high propensity to sell sellers, what do you want to do with them? You want to put them right into your CRM, right? So
Exactly.
into Brivity. So that's a great example. And I think philosophically, I definitely agree with you, right? Agents get push tools from their brokerage, from their teams, from their MLS, from things they buy on their own, and they want to have a seamless ecosystem. And so we don't want to be a walled garden. We want to integrate. We have certainly marketing integrations at Remine, things like that. You can send out postcards. There's a number of them, and certainly, we have ad edit. We can push data into MLSs. We do that as well. So lots of integrations there, but I think there's always room for more.
So
Well, and
maybe
let me,
this question is more like for tech companies that are watching this, like Ben, from your perspective, are you going to welcome these technology companies that have been providing integrated services to MLS systems to come and talk to you guys about how they could play in the sandbox?
If an MLS or experts like you guys can vet that these people are good humans and they have the best interests of the real estate professional and the MLS, then we're open to that 100%. We are very protective. Like, I don't want to let somebody in there that doesn't care about the agent and doesn't care about the local brokerage owner and doesn't care about the franchisee and doesn't care about the MLS. I will build a wall around to stop those people from harming real estate agents. I'm incredibly protective of the people the industry that's given me everything that I have in my life.
Ben, you just said it in a very interesting way. And I think not just to underline the point, I think Victor's trying to ask is some MLS, especially some of the well-established MLS providers today, they don't necessarily fight their MLSs, but they don't necessarily support them when an MLS sees an innovative solution that they've vetted, to your point, that they believe is in the best interest of their customer. And if the MLS vendor doesn't really want to work with them for whatever reason, whether they think of them as a competitor or for whatever reason, they slow play it. And or they make it very expensive and very, very difficult for MLSs to innovate in a way that they want to because they just slow play it. So at some level, they kind of act like they're in charge of the decisions that local smart MLS leadership is making, and they slow play it. I think that's one of the things that what I'm hearing you say is you would never slow play it on behalf of yourself. You would slow play it if you felt like they were going to take the data and sell it out the back door or some other nefarious thing that wasn't in the best interest. But it's
I,
not because you wouldn't do it because of your company. Is that a fair statement?
I'd also be very transparent to that vendor and to the MLS why. I don't hide behind my thoughts. I would be very clear to say I don't know if they have the best interest in the agents of agents and in the product that they're building, and I would be concerned. If you want it, then of course I'll do it because I'm your vendor and I want to support you. But I would be careful. Sometimes I see things that
Fine.
maybe others
Yeah.
don't, and my job is to just share that.
Right. So you're sharing your perspective about protecting their best interest, not protecting your best interest. And there's a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of organizations that don't want MLSs to exist and they don't want brokerages to exist and they don't want X, Y, and Z. And I think that would be foolish. I saw what happened in the UK and these other markets when they don't have cooperation, when they don't have tech tools for real estate professionals. Like there's really bad things that happen when you don't help agents work together to help people sell their home for the most amount of money in the least amount of time. And I think that's our job as vendors and MLSs and brokerage owners and agents to do.
So I'll just kind of wrap this up, Ben, with the final question. But you're entering into this sacred space of MLS and being an MLS vendor, and I say that sincerely. Do you feel the weight of it?
Uh, so far, if I'd say, as Joe said, we're only a couple days into this, I feel really welcomed. I feel like people have been reaching out to me and saying, hey, thank you for buying this and not letting this thing get chopped in pieces. Thank you for not letting it go away. And thank you for not letting somebody else um, purchase it. I felt really, really welcome. I also come in to these rooms with a belief that I don't know everything. And it'll be a long, long time before I know a fraction of what these people know. So I'm just going to come in first listening. I'm not going to tell them how to run their business or what to do or what they need. I'm just going to listen and try to provide solutions for what I hear.
Awesome.
Joe, are there upcoming events like NAR mid-year or whatever they call it today? Do you guys already plan to have exposure? I think that's the next big MLS conference. Is are you are you gonna bring back this stuff and bring them to CMLS this fall in Toronto and let them get to see people and meet people and talk to people, or you got some other plans?
I think for mid-year, right, we're gonna be there, but not have a big presence, a booth, but we'll certainly be there to meet people and talk to people, and I think that'll be a great opportunity. Certainly, CMLS will again be a sponsor for that, no doubt about that, and it'll be a great opportunity to introduce some of the place folks to people we already know at Remine. But and the big events are important, but that's already happening. Ben and I are already going to be on calls with MLS executives next week together. Ben, as he said, is already starting to talk to them, and so we're starting that process, and I think they'll be excited about as they meet Ben, as they meet Chris, as they meet others and from place. I think it's only going to be positive. So
Awesome.
looking forward to it.
Well, I'm really excited for you guys. Joe, I've just seen you do so many extraordinary things in your career, and I just am delighted that you're partnered up with Ben and Chris. I think when people get to know Chris, they'll see that Ben has probably the best business partner that anyone could ever wish for. He's somebody that I've gotten to know pretty well over the years, but these are good people. They care about our industry, and I'm excited to see what you guys do, and we're happy to help in any way.
Me too. Congratulations. It's exciting.
Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today.
You bet.
More to
All
come.
right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
See you around. Bye.